My earliest childhood memories of Christmas are of Christmas in Cork. And those memories were not of Jesus, but of Santa. We did love Jesus in Cork, even if Christian evangelists from North came south to Cork to tell us otherwise. But it was Santa who I first fell in love with. In December 1971, age 7, I wrote a letter to Santa. And me being me, I managed, decades later, to retrieve from Santa that same letter. Here it is. The address is written in bio in my mum's handwriting, which suggests a 7-year-old me hadn't yet learned how to write addresses. 2nd of December 1971, Lee Road, Cork. I wrote in pencil, Dear Santa, I like the garage you gave me last year. Thank you. I would like you to bring me a farm set for Christmas. From your dear friend, spelled Frind, Richard XXX. Santa did deliver the farm set. You may be wondering how I came to retrieve the original letter I sent to Santa. Fast forward 31 years to 2002. After my mum died, I went through her personal papers. There I found my 1971 letter to Santa. That's when, age 38, I finally learned the truth about Santa. In 1988, when I was age 24, I came north to live in Belfast. That was when I actually got to meet Santa. Let me explain. In Belfast in 1988, I met a man, a local man, and he was quite nice. Actually, he was very nice, even if he was from Belfast and a Protestant. He told me that he once worked in the Department of Social Security, the DSS in Northern Ireland. In the DSS, he was responsible for giving cash payments to the poorest families in the city. Being a kind man and a Christian, he made generous payments to as many poor families as he could. His boss at the DSS was none too pleased, and he was given the nickname Santa. Didn't I fall in love with Santa, my Belfast Santa? And Santa fell in love with me. My Santa's real name was Mervyn. Didn't I tell you he was Protestant? One year at Christmas, Mervyn, gave me a present. He knew I liked farms, so he gave me this present. It's a book called Farm Boys, Lives of Gay Men from the Rural Midwest. No, not gay men from County Tyrone, not the Midwest of Northern Ireland, the Midwest of the United States of America. On the cover, there's an American farmer forking hay. It must be very warm because he's taken his shirt off. Excuse me, it's not that kind of book. Inside, there are real life stories, like this one by Everett Cooper. I'll read an extract. My father was a part-time pastor. Our home and church life was very fundamentalist, evangelical. A favorite topic was, he that looketh on a woman and lusted after her in his heart has already committed adultery. So I made good and sure that I wasn't going to happen to me. When I was 15, we were at my grandma's, and there was a report about gay men in a park in California. The family got all up in arms saying, kill the perverts. Everett eventually married twice before he was accepting that he was gay, coming out and entering into a relationship with a man. At that time, I asked Mervyn, did all of the churches teach that the gay people were bad? Mervyn replied that officially all churches were anti-gay, but there were a few individual clergy who said gay people were just lovely. Moving on 20 years to the mid 2000s, when Mervyn and I attended a gay faith group. In 2007, our group approached the Reverend Chris Hudson at All Souls Church here in Belfast. Their minister, the Reverend Chris Hudson, allowed us to come together in public in his church and hold an LGBT carol service. I kept a souvenir of the event, the service sheet from that first public LGBT carol service, Thursday the 13th of December 2007, Community Christmas Carols by Candlelight. The Gathering Gay Spiritual Group welcomes you all to All Souls Church. On the service sheet, it says the lessons were read by a Peggy, a Robert, and a Richard. That was me. The music was provided by an LGBT choir called Choir, Q-U-I-R-E. I can't recall if Jingle Bells was played in the church, but I know that night I felt loved by a community. This being Christmas time and Panto season, we can't let the story continue without a villain of the piece. After successful LGBT community carol services in 2007 and 2008 in Belfast, didn't I think to myself, why should Belfast keep such a great idea to itself? So I was involved in bringing the idea to my hometown of Cork, to an LGBT affirming church, a Protestant Church of Ireland church in Cork, St. Anne's, Shandon. It was the 17th of December 2009 when I took the train from Belfast to Cork. On arrival in Cork, my dad collected me and we stopped off at Wilton Shopping Centre. At the shopping centre, they definitely were playing Jingle Bells repeatedly. My dad asked me to pick up for him a copy of the weekly Cork paper, the Cork Independent. I picked up the copy of the paper. I glanced at the headline. Holy shit, we'd made the front page. It reads, Cork Independent, Thursday the 17th of December 2009. This is crossing the line. Presbyterian minister denounces LGBT carol service. The Reverend John Farris of Trinity Presbyterian Church in Cork, a conservative Presbyterian clergyman originally from the north, he had condemned this gay Christmas get-together by LGBT Christians. My dad was a conservative Catholic. I knew I just couldn't let him see this front page. I feared he might make some negative comment about homosexuals. Needless to say, I wouldn't be telling him that I was one of the ringleaders of the LGBT carol service. The irony was that having come out to my conservative father 20 years earlier as a communist and agnostic, I was now hiding from him that I was sneaking off to a church, and a Protestant church to boot. I attended that first Cork LGBT carol service at St. Anne's Church, Shandon, on the 17th of December 2009. I can't recall if Jingle Bells was played in the church, but I know I felt happy that this celebration had taken place. Happy Christmas to you too, Reverend Farris. This year, because of COVID-19 restrictions, we will not be able to hold our annual LGBT community carol service in Belfast, Dublin, and Cork. However, we can still celebrate by telling and listening to stories of Christmases past.
Oh, Richard, thank you so much. That was proptastic. I think that is your finest collection of props yet. A letter to Santa. I mean, that is incredible. Brilliant. Brilliant. Um, very impressed. And your description of Mervyn was fabulous. So, what have you? I like your Gansey, by the way. Very festive.
Yes,
Gansey.
and in the Cork colours.
Oh, of course, yes. You might want to explain what a Gansey is to our overseas.
A jumper.
Yes, and that. Oh, sorry,
My,
you go. You go.
just before I started my story, my landline rang.
Ah,
and my mobile rang, and I just had to leave it and pull out the phone. It doesn't work. I mean, this has never happened to me before because I've moved room because it's so cold.
oh, brilliant. That is you see, that to me, what you're wearing is a proper Christmas jumper, because these modern day Christmas jumpers, they didn't exist when we were young, because you couldn't possibly afford to have a jumper that was could only be worn for a couple of days.
Paul, you in Derry had jumpers. God, you were really well off.
Yeah, but they were knitted by, aunties and grandmas and all that sort of awfulness. Nowadays, Podrick's doing the knitting.